Hey, pop stars, welcome to this week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Thank you for joining us. This week's episode is sponsored by the OG Fight Club. Sorry, can't speak on that because we all know the first rule of Fight Club. So just peep us at ogfc.shh to schedule a session and find out what they're all about at the OG Fight Club. Tammy, did you ever watch? You've seen Fight Club. I know you have.
I have
Oh, okay. Have you ever been in a fight?
multiple.
Really?
Hmm.
Was you the aggressor or was you taking up for yourself?
A girl called me a bitch,
Ooh. You
and
hit her with the
that's my weakness because I hate when people call me out my name.
ooh. And did you want to okie doker? Did she live to tell the tale?
Oh, she did because she started pulling my hair while I was punching her in the face, and you know
Oh.
that's a clear sign that you can't fight. So she was all mouth. She was running her mouth, and so I said, "Let's go." And so we started fighting, and she started with the punches, trying to hit me, and I got some licks in. She got some licks in, and then all of a sudden, when she realized that I was getting more licks in than her, she started pulling my hair. That's when I knew she couldn't fight. I said, "You all mouth."
The nerve. Yeah. I think I've only been in one fight.
Did you kick their ass?
Yeah.
I
I
can
was
see.
drunk.
I can see. I can see you giving someone a beat down, Eddie.
Yeah, I was drunk though, and she said something. And I just didn't like her anyway. So, heightened emotions in high school and stuff. Then my coach tried to get involved, and she was like, "I heard you got into a fight this weekend," and I'm like, "But what's that got to do with you? I wasn't wearing like the uniform or nothing like that. This was the days before video." She tried to suspend me and stuff, get me in trouble. Then Juanita got involved, and then that's a wrap. It was a wrap.
Oh, when Miss Juanita get involved, it's over. It's over with.
Needless to say, I didn't get suspended. Then the girl's mama tried to call my mama and tell, and then my mama was like, yeah, needless to say, the girl's mama didn't call back talking about no more shit. So yeah, that was pretty much it. That was my foray into fighting, into boxing. But I do want to take box. We should go take a boxing class.
No, I'm good.
You don't want to box?
Mm-mm.
I want to box. I've always wanted to box. Like I've been.
Boxing is like me owning a gun. I should
Oh
never make
shit.
my hands weapons.
Yeah, not especially not in your current line of work.
Exactly. Like I could see me throwing some hands. Like, nah, I'm good.
Okay. Oh, well, this week we get inside. We get a ringside seats to the fight of Adonis Creed's life as he battles ghosts from his past, both literal and figurative. Creed 3 gives us a glimpse into Adonis's life before the events of the first movie, and he is reminded of all that he tried to leave behind from his childhood friend and quote unquote brother Diamond Dane Anderson, played masterfully by Jonathan Majors, returns, determined to reclaim the life that he felt should have been his after doing a 20-year bid. So Tammy, what did you think of Creed 3? Was it a knockout or a not letdown?
I really enjoyed it. I love this series. I think that it gets better and better every single movie, which is rare. But it definitely has I think partly like lived up to the Rocky name. Since it's a spin-off of the Rocky franchise, which is just such a famous franchise to be a spin-off from. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. What about you?
I would have to agree. This was definitely a knockout. And I agree that it has gotten better with each movie. And the storytelling has been masterful. Um, and it's kind of hard to remember that Sylvester Stallone wrote Rocky, you know, and that if you look in his ledger, he has so many producing credits as well as acting. And we all make fun of his acting at one point or another. Yo, Adrian. And I know he took a lot of Heat when he spun this off um, into a series about after several, because the Rocky series, the more sequels you did, the kind of worse they got. I think especially after Rocky 4, and then so when they decided to go with Apollo Creed's story and his family story and his son's story. I know initially when it was announced, he took a lot of heat for that, and it was like okay. Um, but I think that Michael B. Jordan was the perfect choice to play Adonis Creed. I think the story that they've chosen and the way that the characters and the world has grown since the first one has been just um, a result of impeccable choices that they've made. And I was a little skeptical when I saw that Michael B. Jordan was going to be directing this one. Um, and let me just say, after seeing it, he did a great job for his directorial debut. And there's some scenes I will talk about that I think were just phenomenal. But yeah, so I agree with you wholeheartedly. I loved it. It was really surprisingly. I don't think I was expecting it to be good, but I wasn't expecting it to be as good. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. And I went with my friend, one of my best friends, and it was like we were sitting there, like literally, like there were moments where we were just sitting there grabbing each other, like I can't watch, and I'm like, one of us has to be able to see what's going on. It was just like there were moments where you just didn't want to see because it's like ah. And so I was just like, you would have been surprised at how vocal I was in this movie because I'm the one who doesn't go, and I don't usually talk during movies. Like
Mhm.
I may ask a question if I forget, if I have a question about something, or I may make a small comment, but I'm not you. Let me put it that way. You're the movie talker.
I am.
So, and did you go with anyone, or
No,
were
I went by myself.
Oh, okay. So you were talking to yourself. Were you talking? Did
Of
this one
course.
get? Oh,
What?
okay.
I've never been to the movies and not talked.
Did you have the people cracking up? And she's not that. Don't get me wrong, pop star. She's not that annoying talker. She's that one that will make the comment that everyone else is thinking,
I am.
and they'll just be like, "Yeah, yeah." So she's the one that gets the movie conversation going, and then people be like, "Okay." And then sometimes people turn around and be like, "What you got to say about?" So she's that person. Like, yeah. And so yeah, so she's not that annoying talker that's just going to be trying to talk about random shit during the movie. It all has to do with the movie.
The
So
movie.
yeah, but so okay, we'll start. What did you think of Jonathan Majors' performance?
It was good. I'm not. I'm not on the Jonathan Majors train. I think he did a good job. I also think that he did a good job in Ant-Man, which we reviewed last week. Um, I mean, he played the role well. Like, um, I don't like. I will say it's not like he owned the role to me, but he's a phenomenal actor, and I think he did a phenomenal job in the role of playing Damien. I think he did a phenomenal job of playing the role. Um, did he make it his role? Like I couldn't see nobody else playing that role. No, but it does not take away from the fact of that he did a phenomenal job.
Hmm. Who else could you see playing?
Well, I'd have to think about it, but like I look at like Creed, like Adonis, like that's Michael B. Jordan. Like
Hmm.
all I can see is Michael B. Jordan playing Adonis Creed. He's made that role his own. But I saw it from the jump, like from the first Creed. That's what I saw. Like this is his role. Like he
Hmm.
owns this role. I didn't necessarily feel that with Jonathan Majors, but I don't want to take away from the fact that he did a phenomenal job. Like I think he he did his role justice. I don't want to take that away. I don't want people to think that I'm trying to downplay his abilities or whatever. I'm not. It's just there are certain roles where you feel like there's nobody else that can act in that role. And then there's others where they did a good job, but somebody else could have done that too, kind of thing. And I just think like Damian Anderson was one of those roles. Like, I don't think I can see other people. If I really thought about it, I could probably name some people that I could see in that role the same way that Jonathan Majors played it.
See, I don't know. I don't know, and I'm gonna have to think about it too. But at this point, I'm going to say no. I thought he did a really good job, and um, I he's one of those actors to me that he takes a role and he makes it his own, just by by the choices that he makes, and he's one of those actors, those rare actors who, when you're watching this, you don't think of him in another movie where it's not that point where it's like, oh, he was better in this role or he was better in that role. Like, I didn't once think of him as being Kang, or how I wasn't comparing the two roles, because in that moment he was Diamond Dane. It wasn't, oh, he did better in this, he did better than that. But I'm gonna have to give it some thought. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying, I at this point, I when I saw it, I'm like, okay, he was the perfect choice. So can we say that you think he was the perfect choice for the role, or you think they could have
No, because if
no?
he was the
Okay,
perfect choice, then he would have owned the role.
okay. I think, and see, and I think he did. I think he was Dame, and and like you, at the top of my head, I can't think of anyone, but I think it might be for different reasons. I don't know. Um, I like I loved how we got some insight into his past, and it showed that, I love the story of dealing with the trauma, and it showed that just because we moved past something doesn't necessarily mean that we've moved on, or that we've truly dealt with it, or we've gotten over it. And I loved how, it dealt with it from, the male perspective, I guess, because we think about this, especially men dealing with trauma, and the need to be able to have that outlet, and the need to talk to somebody. And even though boxing had been his outlet and his therapy for all those years, you realize without it just how kind of closed off he was, how horrible he was at like communicating those things and his feelings. So I like that aspect of it, the emotions of it. What about you?
You mean like from, okay, wait, are we still on Jonathan Major's character, or are we now on Creed?
Just in
Or just in
general, like,
general?
yeah, just in general. I
I
think they
mean,
both
yeah,
had shit
like
that
like
they
I
had to
said,
deal
they
with.
keep adding on to the story, and the story continues to evolve, and it evolves. I feel it evolved naturally. And so, because for every single movie there needs to be an adversary, and I think that but then also I love the growth of the relationship that Bianca and Adonis have. On, they love each other, but she's not scared, or she doesn't hold back on calling him out, like, hey, you got to talk. If it's not going to be me, you got to talk to somebody. Like, she said that multiple times throughout the movie. So just kind of seeing his background, like you said, seeing where he came from, where basically his mother found him, was, definitely an interesting aspect. And I think just a continued evolution of Adonis Creed's story, that is very natural in every movie. We're just learning something new about him, and I like that.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I love the evolution of their story, and I loved how there's this one part where he said, "You just make it seem so easy," because she kind of understood what he was going through, like the having to find that new direction after you one aspect of your career is over. Except for him, he got to walk out on his own terms. She didn't necessarily get to leave on her own terms. And I love that part where she said, it's not easy for me. I miss it every day. I just had to make a choice, and I remember my friend said, men always think that it's just so easy for women, and when it's not. And so I really truly love that part, and I love the honesty, between them, and it was really good. And um, I loved Felicia Rashad and the role that she played as his mom, and like, did you understand why she did what she did,
What do
like
you mean?
in keeping the letters from him?
I mean, yeah, it was for his best in order to save his life, basically, in the end.
Yeah. Um, but I don't know. Like, okay, so my take is I understood why she did it. But I also told my friend, I was like, when she realized that Dane came back, because she knew how much trouble Dane was, and she knew uh what his thinking had been. Um, I think she should have given them the letters when Dane came back
Mm-mm. You have to realize, why did she give him the letters?
to prove who Dane was.
But what situation led to that?
Oh boy, getting hurt.
Exactly. The only reason why she revealed the letters is because the picture of him with the dude was in the letters, and she realized it when she looked at the letters. That's the only reason why. If they hadn't shown the image of the guy who attacked, how do you say the dude's name?
Mm-hmm.
Drago?
Drago.
Um Drago?
Drago, yeah.
Drago. Okay. If they hadn't shown the image of the dude who attacked Drago, and she hadn't looked at the letters, she would have revealed the letters. The only reason why she revealed the letters is to show who Damien really was. And I think that if she had just given him the letters without that additional evidence of who he was, it would have been a different result. It would ended up being a different result than what it was. And that's the reason why she kept it from him that whole time and only revealed it when there was clear evidence that he was not in it for Adonis, and who the connection that they had, and he was in it for himself. That's the only reason why she revealed the letters. And I get that. I get seeing the when you want she wanted him to go in a different direction when she got him. Now granted, like, they never truly had that full conversation, and really like aired it out to like let it all go. Like, it was still there underneath. But I get the keeping the letters from him, because that was partly on, he was going to stay in the past, he was going to stay connected, and who's to know what direction he would have went in if if she had given him the letters earlier, or she'd given him the letters when they were mailed to him, what direction he would have been in, because he was so much more than it breaking the ties with Damien when he did.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with her not giving them to him when he was younger. I understand that. I understand the why she kept it from him, and I probably would have done the same thing because he, you know, and then initially at one part, it took me a moment to realize that, because when they kept talking about the home, you were thinking, or at least I thought, okay, so after the beat down that night when they got caught, they sent them to a boys' home. They got in trouble that way, right? But you realize that the boys' home is actually where they grew up before he went to live with the Creeds or Marianne, and then it's like, okay, but even after he had been living with Marianne, he still had one foot in his old life, and so I get that. Like you said, it was to save his life because, as we saw, the guilt was eating him up, and it's kind of interesting to see that. Okay, part of that maybe the reason why, besides Apollo being his father, because it gives you the idea that he was happy being the ring man. Like, he would have been Dame's Duke, and Duke was the trainer, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was Dame's Duke, and he would have been perfectly fine with that. It was like he really didn't have the want or the desire to be a boxer himself. So it kind of, and it took me back to when he shows up in Philly to find Rocky. It kind of gives you the idea that that was his way of paying tribute or doing something for Dame, you know. And that's just my feeling on it. So I agree that she should have kept the letters from him. But I'm saying when she found out he first came back into the light, he re-entered the picture, and she knew he was trouble. But then and you just kind of made me think about something else when you were saying it. It's like, would that at that point have been even more, added more to the guilt that he was feeling, about the way the situation turned out, if she had given them to him sooner? But I always kind of got the idea, like, because there were moments, the looks, where it was like, and I kept saying, trust your gut, trust your gut. It was just that moment, like he knew something wasn't quite right, but it was just like that nostalgia. This is my boy. He did this bid trying to protect me. Some of, just so it added on to the guilt that he felt, that he wasn't necessarily paying attention to his gut, I guess. Did you get that feeling, or did you sense that?
Yeah, definitely.
So, but and I kind of got like, Dan gave me some single white female vibes. Like, dude, for real. I understood you were trying to um take the light, reclaim what you thought you lost, but it was like, okay, you were straight up trying to jack homeboy's life, because at one point when he was in the penthouse and he had old girl on the couch, my friend said, why the hell she look just like Bianca? And I said, because he's trying to take that man's life. So I was like, yeah, he gave some creepy single white female vibes for me. I was just like, yeah, that's a bit much. But um so what's something else that you liked about the movie? Like, did you have a scene or a character or a moment or
I liked his family. I liked, and that's like when I say family, like I liked the connection that they had of him. You got to see his daughter older, because the last time I believe she was a baby in the second movie. So we got to see how their life was, of raising a deaf child. Um, there was a lot of scenes that I really really loved. Like I loved when that little girl went up to Amira and took her picture and ripped it in half, and I was like, fuck her up. Like I said, I was just like, fuck her up. And she went and she posed and popped her right in the mouth. I said, yes.
like that
Straight
is her?
on boxing move. Like, I mean, her stance and everything was good, because she'd been studying her father fights for like probably as long as she could remember. So I love that. I love the conversations that Damien and Bianca had. Because to even see, like, he saw certain things. There was a connection there of kind of seeing how, lonely she was, in the fact of seeing somebody else sing her songs, and her response being, I had to focus on what I loved more, and loving more was just basically her family, and doing that. And so I love that. I love that connection. I love the connection of Little Duke and Adonis. There was a lot. Like, I think even when he was training, like, I mean, I was a huge fan of Rocky when I was younger, because my mom loves Rocky. And so just kind of seeing when he was training, and I would just be like, that's Rocky right there. Like that's just a staple of every single time Rocky had to fight. That's what he was doing, running up the steps. And I'm like, now he's running up to the Hollywood sign. Like, I see it. Like, that is the signature, like, move and scene. And so, like, him training and seeing Damien training as well, and you seeing the difference in their fighting style, because Damien was aggression, right? And he was just like, I got this. This is all me. And I'm like, dude, you won one fight. One. Like, nah, that's not all you. But then you see Adonis putting in the work, and he actually trained, and it wasn't just him training his body, but mentally training as well. And that's one thing Damien didn't do throughout the whole movie. He never mentally trained. He thought winning a fight was all physical, and it wasn't. And that's what Adonis showed him in the end.
Yeah. I think, like, okay, you said a lot.
I know.
And I no, not that's I didn't that wasn't meant to sound shady on any level. Um, Going back to the initial part, I love the fight scene. I love the scene with his daughter and the little girl in school. She
Hmm.
deserves. She ran up. She got done up. Like
Yeah.
for real. Like what the fuck? And then his reaction to it was like, he had that typical reaction, that parent reaction, especially that black parent reaction. Like, so why the hell my kid getting in trouble and she not? Like, she's the one who got bullied. She was just defending herself. And I was like, yeah. And Bianca was just kind of like signed. So he signed it, but you could tell he was mad by the way he was signing it. Like, and then the way he didn't say, he stood there like, fuck this dude, man. He lucky I don't run him up. Like, so then, and the one thing though that stood out to me is when he said, but she fights. And they both looked at like, and so I'm like, okay, are you saying that she's violent, she's aggressive? Like, why have you not stopped to ask why she's fighting? Like, she's protecting herself from bullies. Like, so that was my thing. It's like, okay, was this a one-time event? Is she like a fight? So that was the thing. I was like, okay, but yeah, that was hilarious. I loved their daughter, and I loved the use of sign language through the movie. And one of the things I thought was really neat and is really powerful is when Dame went to the house and he taught Dame how to communicate with her, not
Hmm.
her how to communicate with Dame. It's like he was teaching him the signs. Like, no, this is her normal. So you're here, and if you want to talk to her, you're gonna have to talk to her. And I love that. That it was just like, you know, um, but yeah, the conversations I wanted to love the conversations that he and Bianca had, because they did have this natural chemistry where you could tell if Dame had been sincere that they would have been friends, because it seems like he did see and understand that part of her, because he also, it goes back to when I say she didn't necessarily go out of the music game or step out of the music game on her own terms. He didn't leave boxing on his own terms, because he was the boxing prodigy. He was the one who had a plan for where he was going to go. What was it? He was going to do the Golden Gloves, the Olympics, and then turn pro, right?
Hmm.
And so it was like, okay, so he saw something that maybe Adonis didn't see, just truly how much she missed the movie, the music, the music, and how it wasn't easy for her. So he understood that. And I was like, okay. But on the other hand, I always felt like, why he being messy, you know? And so it's just like, even though it was a good conversation and you, like you said, they had this connection, it's just like, because you saw him, you just couldn't trust. It's like, why is he being messy like that? So it was just like, wow. Um, but yeah, so I did, even though he was a little bit more sympathetic than Kane, I kind of understood where he was coming from. Um, I What did you think about Mary? What happened to Marianne? Were you okay with that?
Did she die?
Yeah,
Yeah, she was old.
I love you. You're my favorite.
That was too direct, wasn't it? Sorry.
Empathy.
I didn't know what the question really was. So I was just like, she was old, she was his mama, like emotional connection, like she had to go. Like I don't get it. My bad.
It's okay.
I mean, I loved her while she was in the movie though.
Oh
I
no.
always loved their relationship because they had to grow to the amazing relationship that they had, especially with him calling her mom. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. And I think that I would also like to say that one of the most powerful moments or conversations is when, after she revealed the letters that Damien wrote him, before she revealed the photo, and they were talking, and and she was just like, that was your friend. He was like, no, he was my brother. He was more of a brother than growing up in this house with your two kids. And so, because you know that there's still some deep-seated resentment in the fact of like he was basically forced to grow up with siblings that refused to acknowledge his existence. Um, and we didn't even get to see who they were at the funeral. But did we ever get to see them? No, right?
No, that was
Okay, we
one of
never
the
got
things.
to meet.
Yeah.
Okay, we never got to meet his siblings. I guess because they're unimportant at this point. Um, but yeah, so I love the fact of like to even if it was in the moment and in the emotion, I think that was a real powerful conversation to have. And I feel like at least once every movie they've had some type of conversation to that effect of, you know, her bringing him into the house because he was a oh my god, what was the dude's name? Apollo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because he was Apollo's son, and but yet never making the real moves to fully have him accepted, you know, kind of thing. But even with that, they still moved to a place where she was a very important part of his life and he loved his mother very, very dearly. Um, so I mean, like when she was in the movie, she played a very powerful role, or she was a very important character. But at the end of the day, like, you know, when she died, you know, I shed some tears, you know, because I was feeling it for him and his family. But yeah, I didn't feel no type of way.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was a good movie death. I think it was kind of foreshadowed with her being already having had a stroke.
Yeah, you knew it was coming.
Um, but I think, like you said, the emotion surrounded by it. And I think like I forgot, like, and that's just that also just goes to show not that I forgot because it wasn't important, but just the connection that they had. You forget that that's not her real son, you know, or her biological son. I'm not going to say real. You forgot that that's not her biological son. And he came after Apollo died, right? She
Yeah,
got him after Apollo
yeah,
passed away. Yeah. And so I think the resentment, and I'm going to assume that her children with Apollo were older than he was.
yeah.
Um, so,
Because they were
but
already out of the, so they were almost on their way out of the
out of
house
the
when
house
he
when
was.
he
Yeah,
came. Yeah, okay. So, and that was the thing. I'm like, so when he mentioned that, it's like you forget that there were other siblings because that's the one that was there. That's the one who was close to her. That's the one who always went and checked on her. And I'm with you. It's like I wish we would have kind of gotten a glimpse of them or that relationship at the funeral. I'm thinking maybe one of the sons was one of the pallbearers that they just kind of glanced over, you know.
mm-hmm.
But it was just like okay. So but yeah, and the scene on her deathbed, that even I had like, you know, I ain't gonna lie, I had a tear. I was like, nah, I had the sniffles.
Oh
You
shoot,
crying
that's a
now?
big deal, y'all. Eddie don't cry in movies.
I don't. I sniffled. I sniffed a little. I was like, oh, okay, I got it. I ain't gonna let the tear fall, but it tugged at the strings. So it was just like, oh yeah, especially when she was talking about because it was the forgiveness, because you know, and I think I was so glad that he made it on time because he was already carrying around a mountain load of guilt. But if he hadn't been there, because knowing that the last things that they said to each other were in anger or heated or it was an argument, it wasn't the best conversation. So I'm glad he had that moment to reconcile and that they were able to make peace. Um, and you know, and he realized just how much she loved him and never, you know, after she got over her initial anger, because it takes a hell of a woman to do that, to go and bring in your husband's um, child through an affair into your home and welcome him, eventually welcome him. And so when she said he is the reason why I forgave you and he became my whole world, I'm like, oh shit. So that was just really a powerful scene for me. The emotion, especially when she thought she was talking to to Apollo, I was like, and she went back and forth between him and Adonis. So I was just like, oh wow. Um, I so did you know that Kang, look at me, I'm saying that, but did you know that Dame had set him up? Like when Jago got hurt,
Yes,
me and T were
it was
like,
obvious.
it was. I was like,
I knew from the jump.
yeah, it was just like, dude, how could it was too coincidental. But I thought, and it was great the way he did it. It was great because my feeling was that it was going to be Chavez, but I think he was smart enough to know that if something happened to Chavez, it would have automatically our eyes would have automatically pointed to him, and he still wouldn't have gotten what he wanted because he wanted a shot at the title. But yeah, I'm like, dude, at one point I was like, yep, you're still the Pinocchio to his Geppetto because he played you masterfully.
Mm-hmm.
Like, um, so what did you think about Dane? Did you find him to be sympathetic? Like, did you understand where he was coming from at all?
Yeah, I get what he was looking for. Like he was in jail for 18 years. He was in prison for 18 years. Like I get what he was looking for. Um, I get his resentment. I get his feelings towards Adonis. Even up to the end, like I get it. Like that scene where everything else just faded away and it was just them two in the ring. Like very important scene. Like you understood um where they're really going when like he looked at Adonis and he saw the younger version of Adonis, when Adonis looked at him and saw the younger version of him. Like yes, I get the resentment. I get what he was feeling. You know, I understand where he was coming from, but like I said before, he was fighting physical. He thought it was all physical, trying to prove himself, when boxing ain't just physical. Boxing is mental, and you can do it with a younger. Well, you can do it with Felix because he got in Felix's head. Okay, but Adonis knew you. Like he was the one that would tell you the weaknesses of other fighters. So that you got to know it's not going to be as easy to get that done.
Yeah, I was thinking of checkmate. I was like, I was waiting for. I kept saying he's going to checkmate him. He's going to checkmate him. But yeah, boxing is very cerebral, and you got that when Adonis was talking to his daughter. He's like, a lot of people think it's about violence, but it's not. You know, it's about thinking. It's about everything else that goes into it, reading your opponent, this, that. So I was just like, yeah. Um, but speaking of Michael, and I agree with you. You understood where Dame was coming from. So even though he was the quote unquote big bad, he was a very sympathetic big bad because it was like a lot of what he was doing was fueled from that anger, from that resentment, and thinking that this kid stole your life, thinking or believing, spending all this time thinking that he forgot about you. Because when he said, because when they were in the restaurant and he's like, I wrote you a few times, and he was like, and Adonis was thinking back to like, what? And he's like, but I didn't get him. And you could tell Dane looked at him like he didn't really believe him, you know. Um, and so it was just like, wow. And going back to Michael B. Jordan being the director, I think the scene that you alluded to when everything else faded away and it was just those two, and they saw each other for the kids that they were. I thought that that was one perfect scene. Like that was a hell of a scene. It was a hell of a shot. It was a hell of a choice to make, um, to clear everyone away, um, out of, and it was just those two in Dodger Stadium, going at it, pound for pound, man for man, kid versus kid, brother against brother. And it got to a point where you saw them releasing those demons and the anger and the guilt. And Dame, at one point, when Dame put him up against the ropes, the jail cell came down, and I was just like, "Oh, fuck!" And that scene relates so much emotion that I was like, if it had included the audience, if it shot the other way, if it was just a regular fight scene where you had the oohs and the ahs and the crowd there, it would not have been nearly as powerful. It wouldn't have conveyed as much. It wouldn't have been as emotional. It wouldn't have. It just wouldn't have played the same way. So I think, like I said, for this to have been Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut, he did the damn thing, not only as an actor but as a director. Like, and I think in this, because like you said, he is Creed. He's the embodiment of Creed. So I didn't expect anything less. So I was looking for more of the choices, the direction, the camera shots, the angles. I was looking at more of that than anything else. And I kudos and hats off. And I would be interested to see what his next directing project would be, because he did a great job with Creed, especially for a debut. There were some tough scenes in there. And I think that the boxing one of their last match, I think that was one of the probably boldest choices, especially from a first time director that that I've seen, that I can think of off the top of my head. So kudos to him. Um, and yeah, it was really good. All right, you got anything else? You got anything else?
No.
No. All right, so let's rate this baby. How many popcorns are you giving it?
I am going to give Creed 3 4.5 popcorns. Nah, let's go 4.75. I think I'm a little biased because I really, really, really love Michael B. Jordan. And I think that Creed is just an amazing I saw someone call it legacy series. And I can put it there, legacy series or spin-off series, especially from such an amazing franchise that is Rocky. So I really enjoyed it from beginning to end. Like, there wasn't a moment where I was like, ugh. Never did I have that feeling of ugh. But I think like the 0.25 would go back to the beginning when I said that while I think that he did a phenomenal job in the role, he didn't necessarily own the role, but also on, I mean, I think the 0.25 would also be like the script wasn't the greatest. But the acting was phenomenal and the movie overall was really enjoyable. So yeah, so 4.75 for Creed 3. It's very, very rare that I would do that, but go ahead.
Okay. I agree. I give it a 4.5, and for the reason you said, I thought everything was great. There were some holes in the script. Wasn't necessarily the strongest script, but the acting made up for it. Michael B. Jordan as a director, like I said, I already gave him his flowers, so I'm not going to go through that whole diatribe again. But I thought he did a great job. I love the choices. Tessa Thompson, as always, was amazing. Um, and I love that she continues to have something to do in the movie. She's not just there as the arm candy. She owned her scenes as Bianca. So I love that. The
She wasn't
choices,
holding
like,
down the house, which I loved.
yeah, yeah, she had her own thing. She had her own studio in the house. We found out that she was a success as a producer, because was it movie one or movie two where she had to make the choice to
Two.
save her hearing and give
Two.
up the singing and the turn? Yeah. So I love that she had her own thing. And the choice that the daughter was deaf and they were raising a deaf girl. So just all the things that they incorporated in this movie. And I agree, it is a strong, strong legacy series. And the Creed series has continued to grow. I wouldn't be surprised if, I wouldn't be surprised if the next spinoff was about his daughter. Like, you just kind of got that feeling like she would be like the Layla Ali.
Yo, you too. That's what I kept thinking that's Layla Ali in the making.
Yeah, like, she was a daddy's girl through and through, and she trained herself really how to fight just because from watching her dad's video. So he was just there to kind of like hone the skills. So, but yeah, it is really a strong, strong legacy spinoff series. Sylvester Stallone should be proud. What were you gonna say?
No, I said I had one more thing, but I was gonna let you finish your thought.
Oh, yeah. Sylvester Stallone should be proud about how they're continuing on the series. He's still a producer on the series and everything like that. So kudos, hats off. Yeah, that's my take. What you got?
The last thing is, I really liked the friendship that developed between Adonis and Drago.
Oh yeah, I
When
do too.
they
We're gonna
were,
talk about that. Yeah.
yeah, like when they were, so of course, like, having the fight between Felix and Drago, and I was just like, okay, amazing. And then when Drago gets attacked, and just saying like, you need to step away, you can't. But when it comes back where he's training now, and like he's talking to him, and you can tell it wasn't like him being malicious or being mean or something like that. Like it was really on a friendship level. Like, dude, you got to be prepared. Like he was talking to him like, this all you got? Like, come on. Like, where's the Adonis Creed that I know, the one that beat me? Like, and then when Adonis finally like got his mind right, and he was like, all right, where you going? Like, let's go. And he hit him hard, and the smile that came on his face, I love that. Like, I want to also say that was one of my favorite scenes, is seeing their friendship in a way, as well as the fact of like when he was helping him spar, and he realized that Adonis was back, and the smile that he got on his face, I thought that was a great thing.
Yeah, and the way he cared for Felix and his mom and all of that kind of stuff, like it was good. And especially considering that Drago's the one that killed, basically his dad died in the ring fighting Drago, right?
The father, yeah.
Yeah, Drago's dad. So, but yeah, I agree with you. We didn't even touch on that, and I love the evolution of that relationship too. So, Creed, definitely a knockout.
Yes.
Definitely something you guys should go check out in the movie theaters. It is a theater movie. Don't And I get it. With these days, with the quick turnaround, people are probably going to wait for streaming. So, it's something that I would watch again. That I will watch again. Is obviously going in the collection because I have all the Rockies, I have all the other Creeds, but it's going in there not to complete a collection like Ant-Man, not naming any names, but it's going in there because that's where it belongs, and I will pull it out and watch it. Kind of make me want to go back and watch the other two. So, um, that does it for this week's episode, I believe. And so please be sure to like, listen, follow, and comment anywhere where you listen to your favorite podcast, including us. Save, star, all of that good stuff. You can also keep up to date on the latest in entertainment and pop culture news, as well as other amazing kernels of pop culture goodness at thepopcornwinedown.com. See, that was my. I felt like I was talking about one of those drug ads where it tells you here's this, but then it skips
Become
through all.
addicted. Become addicted.
Yeah, it skips through the antidotes like it'll cure you of diarrhea, but you might need a new kidney by the time you finish taking it. One of those ads. Okay, but that's it. That's the plug. Thank you as always, and be sure to join us next week where we discuss our first K drama of the year, Under the Queen's Umbrella, starring people whose names I can't pronounce but are very lovely actors.
Okay.
I'm not going to disrespect them by mutilating their names because you know that I would. But yeah. And yes, before you ask, I have started.
Good.
Okay. So until next time, I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy. Bye.
Peace.